There is a mother in Nagoya who packs her son's lunch every morning in complete silence. Not because she's tired, not because she's distracted, because in her house, the kitchen before 7 a.m. is quiet on purpose. Her son is 9. He ties his own shoes, folds his own futon, and when he spills his rice, nobody rushes over to fix it. He looks at the mess, gets a cloth, and cleans it himself. She watches from the doorway. She doesn't say a word. Outside, the neighborhood is just waking up, the sound of shutters lifting, a bicycle bell somewhere down the street. Inside, there's this small, unremarkable moment that most of us would interrupt without even thinking about it. She lets it happen instead. Now picture the other kitchen, the one a lot of us know. A parent hovering over a plate, cutting food into smaller pieces, praising every bite, jumping in the second a shoe won't tie, loving, exhausted, doing everything the parenting books say to do, and somehow still ending the day feeling like they're falling behind, like their kid is more anxious, more dependent, more fragile than they were supposed to be by now. You've maybe stood in that kitchen, coffee going cold on the counter, running through the mental list of everything your child still needs from you before 8 a.m., and underneath it, a quieter thought you don't say out loud. Why does this feel so much harder than it looked for my own parents? If that second kitchen sounds familiar, this video isn't going to tell you to try harder. It's going to show you 8 things Japanese parents almost never do, the quiet reasoning behind each one, and what Western child development research has been finding out about why restraint, done well, builds something that constant help never can. By the end, you'll understand exactly what your instinct to help, the fast, well-meaning, reflexive kind, might be costing your child without you ever noticing. And there's one habit near the end, number 8, that surprises almost every parent who hears it for the first time, because it has nothing to do with discipline at all. Here's the belief most of us grew up absorbing, even if nobody ever said it directly. Good parenting means being there, answering fast, fixing fast, praising fast, presence measured in speed. And for a huge number of kids, that belief is quietly working against them. Not because the parents don't care, it's almost the opposite problem. They care so much, they're so tuned in to every flicker of struggle on their child's face, that they never let the child sit in the one moment where real growth actually happens. The moment of struggle, right before the solution arrives on its own. We've built an entire culture around removing that moment as fast as possible, and we called it love. And in a lot of ways, it is love. It's just love aimed at the wrong target. It's aimed at the discomfort instead of the child's own capacity to move through it. So let's go through what Japanese parents leave out, on purpose, and stay with me, because the order they come in matters as much as the habits themselves. Number 1. They rarely praise intelligence. You won't hear "you're so smart" nearly as often as you'd expect in a Japanese household, even from parents who are clearly proud, clearly warm, clearly paying attention. What you'll hear instead is praise for effort, for patience, for trying again after getting it wrong. This connects to shitsuke, a word that gets translated flatly as discipline, but really means something closer to quiet, ongoing training passed down through example rather than lecture. It's less about correcting a child and more about modeling a way of being, day after day, until the child absorbs it without being told to. Psychologist Carol Dweck's research on mindset is where the Western science lines up here. Her studies found that children praised for being smart tend to avoid challenges, because failing at something would threaten the label they've been given. If being smart is who you are, then a wrong answer is a threat to your identity, not just a mistake to learn from. Children praised for effort behave completely differently. They take more risks. They choose the harder puzzle, because effort is something they control, win or lose. The label doesn't wobble when the outcome does. The shift here is small enough to do tonight. Instead of "you're so clever," try "I saw how hard you worked on that." That message matters more than it sounds like it should, and it's about to get tested by the very next habit on this list. Number 2. They don't rush in to solve the problem. There's a concept in Japanese early childhood education called mimamoru, which means something like watchful protection, standing back, observing closely, rather than intervening the moment things get difficult. A teacher or parent practicing mimamoru will watch a child struggle to open a juice box for a full minute, maybe longer, before offering any help. And even then, they'll offer a hint before they offer a hand. Not a hand that takes over, a hint that nudges. This lines up almost precisely with Vygotsky's idea of the zone of proximal development, the space just past what a child can do completely alone, where real learning actually happens, but only if someone doesn't step in and close that gap for them first. Every single time we solve it before the child gets there, we shrink that zone a little. We're not saving them time. We're quietly narrowing the space where their own competence would have grown. Slow down here for a second, because this is the one that reframes almost everything else on the list. Help, given too early, isn't neutral. It's a withdrawal from a skill the child hasn't built yet. The shift. Count to 10 before you help. Just 10 seconds. Let them sit in the friction a little longer than feels comfortable to you, because your discomfort watching them struggle is not the same thing as their inability to handle it. Number 3. Chores are not optional, and they start absurdly early by Western standards. In Japanese schools, students clean their own classrooms and hallways, no janitor, starting around age 6, in small teams, on a rotating schedule. At home, even toddlers are expected to carry their own plate to the sink after a meal, no matter how small the plate or how wobbly the walk there. There's no single Japanese word for this exact idea, but it echoes the same sensibility behind mottainai, the sense that nothing should go to waste, not food, not effort, and not a child's own capability sitting there unused. Psychologist Albert Bandura's research on self-efficacy is the science anchor here, and it's one of the most replicated findings in developmental psychology. A child's belief in their own competence is built through mastery experiences, actually doing hard, useful things with real consequences, not through being told they're capable in the abstract. Being told you can do anything doesn't build self-efficacy. Doing something difficult and watching it work does. A child who has never been trusted with a real task doesn't just lack a skill, they quietly, invisibly learn that they can't be trusted with one, and that belief tends to outlast childhood. The shift. Give them one job this week that actually matters if it's left undone. Not a symbolic chore, a real one. Number 4. The day isn't packed. Walk through a Japanese neighborhood in the late afternoon, and you'll see something increasingly rare in Western suburbs. Kids just wandering, playing, doing nothing structured at all, without an adult narrating or supervising every second of it. This is Ma, the deliberate pause, the empty space that isn't a gap waiting to be filled, but a thing of value entirely on its own. In traditional Japanese art and architecture, Ma is treated as seriously as the objects it surrounds. The silence between notes in music, the blank space around a single flower in an arrangement. Applied to childhood, it becomes the unscheduled hour that isn't wasted time. It's the time where a child's own mind gets to run the show. Researcher Peter Gray has spent decades tracking the decline of unsupervised free play in Western children, and his work links that decline to rising anxiety and weaker executive function. The mental skills kids need to plan ahead, adapt when things go sideways, and manage their own impulses without a coach standing next to them. A packed schedule of enrichment activities can look, on paper, like investment in a child's future. Often, it's the opposite. It's a childhood with no Ma in it at all, no space where boredom is allowed to exist long enough to turn into imagination. The shift. Leave one afternoon a week with nothing on it, nothing at all. Resist the urge to fill it. Number 5. They almost never scold a child in front of other people. Correction happens quietly, later, usually at home, almost never in the moment of public embarrassment. Not at the playground, not in front of grandparents, not in the grocery store aisle. This connects to Hansei, a practice of honest self-reflection that Japanese culture treats as something a person does with themselves, in private, not something performed for an audience as a warning to others. Psychologist June Tangney's research draws a sharp, well-supported line between shame and guilt, and it's a distinction most Western parenting completely misses in the heat of the moment. Shame makes a child feel like a bad person. Guilt makes them feel bad about one specific thing they did. Shame tends to produce defensiveness, hiding, and a kind of hardening against the parent who delivered it. Guilt tends to produce something much more useful: repair. A child who feels guilt wants to fix what happened. A child who feels shame just wants the feeling to stop by whatever means necessary, including denial. Public correction, even a mild one, almost always lands as shame because an audience turns a mistake into an identity. The shift. Save the conversation for later, somewhere private, and start it with what happened, not with what they are. You hit your sister, instead of, "You're such a bad boy." The words are close, the outcomes are not. Number 6 is the one that stings a little, because it runs against nearly everything Western parenting culture has been trained to reward for the last 2 decades. Japanese parents don't rush to fix a child's big emotion. This ties back to Ame, the deep, culturally accepted dependency between a young child and a caregiver, and in practice it looks like close physical presence without a lot of talking. A parent will sit near a crying child, maybe hold them, maybe just stay within arm's reach, and simply wait, rather than immediately narrating the feeling out loud or offering a solution to make it stop. There's no rush to explain the emotion away or negotiate it into silence. This lines up with what researchers describe as co-regulation, the idea that a calm nervous system sitting quietly beside a dysregulated one is in itself the intervention, before any words are needed at all. We often think comfort means talking a child out of the feeling as fast as possible, fixing it like a problem with a clear solution. Sometimes, comfort just means staying. Not soothing, not solving, just staying. Long enough for the storm to move through on its own. Number 7. Manners are never treated as optional, even with toddlers who barely have the words for them yet. The bow at the door, the phrase before a meal, the small daily rituals of greeting and thanks. These aren't extras layered on top of parenting once the real lessons are done. They're considered the foundation underneath everything else. This is an expression of WA, group harmony, the sense that a person's actions ripple outward and affect everyone around them, and that a child needs to feel that ripple early, not learn it as an abstract rule later. Social psychology has repeatedly linked small, consistent rituals of acknowledgement, a greeting, a thank you, sustained eye contact, to stronger social bonding between people, even when the ritual itself takes only a few seconds. A child taught early that their words and small actions affect the people around them tends to carry that awareness into adulthood, long after the specific rituals are forgotten. The shift. Don't skip the small rituals because you're tired or running late. They're doing more quiet work than they look like they're doing. And number 8, the one I promised, the one most people don't expect. Meals are never eaten alone, and they're never eaten without a word first. Before the first bite, there's itadakimasu, a phrase that translates roughly to "I humbly receive," an acknowledgement of the food itself, the person who cooked it, and everyone and everything that contributed to it existing on the table at all. It's not a prayer exactly. It's a pause, a full stop between the rushing of the day and the act of actually sitting down. Family meal research in the West has found, repeatedly, that regular shared meals are linked to lower rates of anxiety and stronger emotional regulation in kids, even when the meal itself is nothing elaborate. Plain rice, simple soup, nothing that looks like effort on the surface. It was never really about the food. It was about the pause before it, and the person sitting across the table who showed up for it too. Put it all together, and here's what it actually looks like, in order, the way a Japanese household actually runs it, day after day without fanfare. Praise the effort, not the child. Wait before you help. Hand them a real job. Leave the afternoon empty. Correct them in private. Sit with the feeling instead of rushing to fix it. Don't skip the small rituals, even the ones that feel like nothing. And eat together, with a pause before the first bite. None of it costs anything. None of it requires a course, an app, or a system you have to buy into. It requires you to do less, at exactly the moments your instincts are screaming at you to do more. That mother in the quiet kitchen isn't withholding love. She's making room. Room for her son to struggle a little, fail a little, and come out the other side knowing, in his own body, that he did it himself. That's the whole reframe, underneath all 8 of these. The goal was never to raise a child who never struggles. That was never on the table for anyone, anywhere. The goal was to raise one who knows, deep down, that they can handle it when the struggle comes, because they've been handed enough small, real ones already to trust themselves with the bigger ones later. Not a prescription, a perspective. Tonight, pick one thing off this list and try it just once. Maybe it's staying quiet for 10 extra seconds before you help. Maybe it's the pause before dinner. One sentence before anyone picks up a fork. If you want more of this, the calm way, the subscribe button is right there, no pressure at all. And I'd love to know, which of these 8 is hardest for you to actually do?